Okay, awesome. Thanks, Shanae, so much for coming on and being with us. How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Doing good.
Fantastic.
Doing good.
You sure, Darrell? Because you hesitated.
Yeah, doing good. We had a 3 week break. Andrew and I just got really busy with recruiting and like filling roles, and we wanted to kind of strategize on how we want to move forward with this podcast. And so it's been a long break, so we kind of been excited to get back online, and you're our first one, and since the break. So thanks for coming on with us.
Of
I
course.
know we're gonna I know we're gonna unbox some really interesting topics today. Some topics that I personally, I can't speak for Andrew, but for myself, I'm definitely going to be a student today on some of these topics. And so I got my notebook here, and so Shanae's going to be dropping facts for us. But we'll dive right in. So I just wanted to set the scene and kind of pass it over to you, Shanae, just to give our audience and your audience a little bit of context of you, who you are, your background, what kind of brought you to where you are today.
Yeah, so I originally wanted to be an attorney. And so I went to North Carolina Central University School of Law, graduated with my Juris Doctor in 2015, and I did not pass the bar. I took the North Carolina bar 3 different times. And when I signed up for time number 4, I literally was like, I'm not giving the state of North Carolina any more of my money. So, and I don't think I want to do this anymore. So I had to like pivot and figure out what I wanted to do, which was literally from the time I graduated and started studying for the bar for the first time to when I actually got my first full-time job was a 4-year period. And so when I see job seekers quite a bit get frustrated and they can't find a full-time job and all kinds of things, I overstand completely because it that 4-year period taught me a lot of patience. I was frustrated a lot. I cried a lot of tears, but it made me diligent. It made me patient with other people. It taught me a lot of different things. And so when I did not pass the bar, I got into a company called Duke Temporary Service, which is the internal temp service for Duke. Anytime I say Duke, people think that I recruited for Duke basketball. I did not. So I was looking for a job. My husband was working at Duke, and I always shout out my husband because he was the first person that passed my resume along. You know, everybody says it starts at home. It really started in our house. So he was already working for Duke. He knew someone who knew one of the temp recruiters. And so he was like, he said, send me your resume and I'll send it to somebody. And literally like the old school, your resume just went down the line until it hit the right person. That's pretty much what my resume did. And so I got this random call when I was in one of my legal contracting roles. I got a random call um, from the temp recruiter, pretty much saying that he was leaving. He was leaving his job the next day, but before he left, he wanted to make sure my resume got into the hands of another temp recruiter. So he was giving me an update on him giving my information to that temp recruiter. And so she called me maybe a few days later. She told me about a position that I thought was like the most cool position, and then I realized it was a secretary. Like, didn't even realize it because the title was different. So it was the secretary role. So she put me into that role. Ironically, that role was in Duke's Law School in the law clinic. So I got a chance to do some legal work because the professor saw that I had a law degree. So I just kind of took over when the secretary had to go. She had to have surgery. So I just went and took over her job for a few weeks. And then I did some legal work at the same time. My second assignment with Duke Temporary Service was Duke Talent Identification Program, which is in short Duke TIP. And so I got hired on as a compliance officer. I was supposed to go through all of the old resumes and discard all of the old resumes that Duke had on file that were more than 3 years old because it was a liability at that point. And so the recruiting manager who hired me came to me and was like, you want to learn how to be a recruiter? And of every podcast that I've done, my answer has always been the same. Yes, I have nothing else to do. So yes, I want to be a recruiter. And so that's literally how I got into recruiting. Danita Austin, she was the recruiting manager. She is still my mentor. I need to call her back after this episode because she called me. So she's waiting for me to call her back. We talk almost every day to this day. She still gives me gems and tips and tricks about just being, she's an OG recruiter. So just being a seasoned recruiter and teaching me the tricks of the trade and what she learned back in her day when she first started to what she's learned up 20 years later. She taught me how to be a recruiter, and y'all always hear me talk about the candidate experience, and that is what she taught me. She taught me the urgency of candidates. She taught me how to respond to candidates. She taught me the idea of taking my time and being patient with people so that I can give the best candidate experience possible. And she broke my resume down. She rebuilt it. I had a full-time job within 2 months. And I literally was thrown to the wolves and Duke on the other side of Duke, which was the healthcare side. So I did not recruit for Duke basketball, y'all. So the healthcare side, I recruited a lot of the entry-level roles, a lot of the call center, urgent care, what is it? Primary care recruiter for those as well. And then a lot of the positions in what we call Big Duke, which is the big main hospital. Then I got this email saying that my current company was looking for recruiters, and here I am in tech. So that's kind of how I got into tech.
Shanae, can I ask you, because I feel like everybody's journey into recruitment is interesting. I don't know anybody who's had like this smooth transition into recruitment. I feel like everybody's kind of stumbled in. What was it that grabbed you about being a recruiter? You know, usually, I mean, it's not long before you get hit with the reality that this is tough. There's a lot of rejection involved. A lot of people get angry with me, if I do something wrong. But what was it about recruitment that like grabbed your attention? I mean, you're someone who's coming from a legal background and more of that from that setting. So what was it that kind of captured your interest?
It was, so Danita said before she decided to bring the idea to me, she knew I would fall in love with it because I was frustrated. So she met me in my frustrated state. So she was like, you've been looking for a job for this long and you've had no success and, no luck in finding your first full-time role. She felt like if she taught me how to be a recruiter and teach people how teach people and treat people how I wasn't being taught and treated, then it was a no-brainer. It would have been a no-brainer for me. So that's really what caught me. And I think what changed my life about being a recruiter was my first offer. But like when I made an offer to somebody and you could see their life change right before their eyes, like it is the most gratifying thing when you have literally taken this person from start to finish. And at this point, I tell everybody, like, let the recruiter be your best friend. We get in real life that we're not your friend for real, but let us be your best friend throughout that period, because we get to understand who you are as a person. We get to understand your life a little bit. We get to advocate for you from the personal perspective so that you can make more money and be in better positions. And so when I got a chance to do that, I was able to marry my advocacy from wanting to be an attorney with trying to change people's lives, and putting that together was like the perfect storm for me. Yeah. So for me, it was literally hearing stuff like, I have not killed myself yet because I have hope that, somebody will respond and you're the person who responded. I get those quite a bit. Or I get I'm homeless and you took a chance on me. I get you sent my resume to somebody, or you put in a good word for me, and 5 seconds of your time could have changed my entire future. And I think for me, when I got into tech and I made my first 6-figure offer to an engineer who didn't even think he could get 6 figures so early in his career like myself, I was just like, okay, like this is something that I can 100% do as a career, because I'm a motivational speaker by nature. So I like to encourage people and speak life into people. And the fact that I get to do that at work is just like all the better.
Yeah. Amazing.